Yeah, Duwap. Well, what you know about Duwap Kaine? I know about Duwap Kaine, man. Shout out little Duwap. That's the only. He's like 15. He's like 15. He's like, and he goes hard, bro. Yeah, shout out Duwap Kaine, man. Tell him I said it.
Duwap Kaine is the most influential rapper in the underground. Okay, I just said that to get your attention. Maybe he's not the most influential, but he is very, 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 very influential. And definitely the most influential in his generation. Which is why I called him the Underground Chief Keef in my main video. But it's impossible not to find a rapper in the underground today that isn't influenced by Duwap. And man, do I have a ton of memories listening to his music. He's got classics on classics on classic. And he's only 2.5 years older than me. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how I got into Duwap's music, the influence of Duwap Kaine. I'll give some songs as examples, my personal thoughts on Duwap, where he's at now, what he's up to, and where I think he'll be, because he's still very young. So I found Duwap through this Lil Tracy song called Hygiene, where Duwap's featured, then just never listened to him until 2018. Around the time Underdog dropped, I gave his music a chance and was like, damn, I've been sleeping on this guy, missing out completely, this kid's got it. I remember listening to Santa and his other popular songs from that period. And by the way, Pure type beats were kind of popular, but to be honest, other than Cardi and Pierre and maybe like Young Nudie, Duwap was really the only other rapper, in my opinion, that could actually rap on his beat. I remember first listening to Underdog, classic album by the way, 100% recommend you listen to it fully. And from there I got into his older music. Some of my favorites at the time were Disagree, Southside, Santa, F the CPD 2, that song's hard as hell. He made it when he was like 10 or 11 or something, it's crazy. A lot of his younger music is cool too, but that's it, it's just cool because it's not like I'm gonna be listening to Ocean Gang freestyle, seriously. Or even A Stove is a Stove if I'm being honest. But what made me like his music so much as an Indian kid from the suburbs? By the way, at the time, I didn't even listen to rap that much, or at least in the traditional sense. So I wasn't really listening to street rap, if that makes sense. He produced his own beats. Some of his beats are crazy, by the way. Constantly experimented, had great lyrics, cool flows. And at that time, being a young rapper still had a novelty effect on listeners, including me. Nowadays, if a 13-year-old blew up and got a song with 1 million plays, you wouldn't even bat an eye. And watching Duwap come up was cool because it was so organic. TikTok didn't exist, so for Duwap to blow up, he just had to be really consistent and make really good music. And he was so different, it's pretty special. He showed early glimpses of it in songs like Long Live Gus, which I really liked as a fan of Lil Peep. Gustav or Gus was Lil Peep's name, by the way. But starting with Underdog, he started to get more and more unique, eventually just creating his own sound. No one was really rapping the way he was, he'd hum incoherently, but it was hard, if you know what I mean. The melodies were unlike anything I'd ever heard before. And once 2019 rolled around, he completely shattered my expectations. He started dropping songs like Flying, Epic Fail, and My Voice, and I was like, damn, this is really the GOAT. Every song he made was addicting, half of them were produced by him. I never heard something like it. We'd never even really seen a rapper so young do something like he did. Because of that, he was very influential. So let's take a short break from this and talk about his influence. The influence of Duwap Kaine. Shout out, I'm saucy, huh? For the original video, some of these might be a stretch, and I made a playlist for you to follow along, it's linked in the description. The first rapper Duwap influenced was Summers, and no, this is not a stretch. Duwap Kaine Phone, Summers, Clever. Okay, so I know these both are on a 9/9 beat, but it's hard not to admit Summers' flow and even his lyrics are just like Duwap's from Underdog. It's actually impossible. He 100% was influenced by Duwap while making this. If you're a Summers stan, you're like, no way, no, he couldn't have been influenced by Duwap, no way, no, that's my GOAT. It's okay, I got something for you. Here's a picture of a fan art Summers and Autumn made of Duwap Kaine in Little Candy Paint in 2016. Funny because Autumn started beefing with Duwap in 2021, and just 5 years ago, or from then, so in 2016, he was making fan art of a 14-year-old while he was almost 18. No hate towards Autumn, I really like his music too. A rapper Duwap had a lot of influence on, except for what he recently did, allegedly, was SSG Kobe. If you listen to Pouring Codeine, where Duwap's rapping as a little kid on a childish, playful, piano type beat, SSG Kobe has a song called No Smoke with a very similar vibe to it. Just listen to it. Kobe also has a couple remixes of Duwap. He remixed 2018, he hopped on a couple of 9/9 beats, and once again you can hear Duwap's influence. If you listen to the song Trials, he uses Duwap's flow. Listen to Nominee. In What You Doing, he says, I feel like I'm Duwap, you know that I'm glad, referencing Duwap Kaine's song Glad. It's pretty undeniable how much of an influence Duwap had on a young Kobe. And who knows where Kobe would even be without Duwap. Okay, that might actually be a stretch. Of course, some younger rappers have spoken on Duwap's influence. The man, the myth, the legend, the plug goat himself, Cash Dami. He's kind of like an OG in the rap scene. Spoke on Duwap Kaine's influence on him.
He was like the layout, you know what I'm saying, for all the young, like like the route that she would want to go. You feel me? Like he was the first one that like low key paved that whole wave.
And the rest of the newer SoundCloud generation coming up as well. Here's Slum 6 paying homage to Duwap.
Duwap, he was just making new sounds out the ass. Like it was something new every time.
For real, yeah. He still does that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like, even though I wasn't really tapped into the underground when Duwap was making his run and going as crazy as he was, I like now that I know more about it, I can see that he was just like he played such a big role in the underground.
Tana even has some remixes of Duwap, which is Disagree and No Autotune. He killed them, by the way. So it's really cool to see new rappers giving Duwap his flowers. Another rapper Duwap influence is BK the Ruler. If you listen to Tweak and BK the Ruler's Tweaking, other than the titles being kind of similar, the similarity between their flows are shockingly similar. And when you start to look at the time frame in which they were made, the influence becomes more and more obvious. If you're in denial about that, BK has a song called Uh-Huh, where she says making so much plays right now feels like Duwap. So yeah, he definitely was influenced by Duwap Kaine. And it's kind of crazy because Tweaking Together is her most popular song. Jace. This is the most obvious influence and someone who even admitted it. Jace, of course, whose old name, if you didn't know, was TG Duwap, so he literally just jacked Duwap's name. He has a couple of remixes like Tweak. He also has songs where he just wrote Kane flow in the title to pay homage and for people not to call him out for stealing flows. Also, this is just a random thought, but the beanies that Jace is kind of famous for wearing, or actually got clowned on for wearing so much, are kind of similar to the beanies in this one cover art for one of Duwap's albums. I'll pop it up on screen right now, so let me know what you think about that. Even Can has a couple songs where he uses Duwap's flow. Listen to Free Slime Dollars and he uses Duwap's flow. Another Slay World member who I formerly mentioned, Autumn, has a song called Glock on My Side, where the influence was pretty obvious. Even Comethazine has a song called Bozo from 2016, where he shouts out Duwap, saying jugging at the sicko on my Duwap Kaine shit. And of course, a legend, X, even shouted out Duwap Kaine. So saying Duwap didn't influence the entire underground scene is like smoking crack. You're crazy. And his influence today even has somewhat of a ripple effect because all these rappers he's influenced are already kind of big, at least in the underground. Okay, so let's jump back to 2019 where I left off. And that's where I'd say Duwap had the most heat. A lot of times artists have periods where they were just on fire. Actors, musicians, YouTubers, anyone. You look at them in a certain year and go, damn, blah, 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 was just going crazy that year, or those years. And to me, even though Duwap blew up in 2017, 2019 to 2020 was when he had the most heat. Obviously, he was dropping fire music, but he just went crazy aesthetically, sonically, and even judging by just popularity, he was putting up numbers. Like I said in the main channel video, he was supposed to open up for Cardi in his Die Lit tour. I think he hung out with Cardi a couple times. His project Mr. 4 was ridiculously good, and he just didn't miss in these years. He was also very selective in what tracks he would put out. Before Bad Kid from the 4, I remember feeling like he was never gonna drop, and then he dropped the album of the year in my opinion. I probably played a couple hundred hours of Fortnite to Bad Kid from the 4, and only half because I loved Fortnite at the time. The other half was just that album was insane. I'd go home from school, watch YouTube, open SoundCloud, play Fortnite, you know, that was like my routine back then. It's kind of weird. Most rappers get stuck between a mixtape or they try to do some BS for style and just ruin the vibe, adding unnecessary features. Duwap had no features, never had features. Duwap on his own perfectly curated a certain euphoric sound while also dropping 18 songs, which is something very few people can actually pull off. Like, I'm struggling to think of someone that did that. Maybe like Cardi or something. So what happened to Duwap, right? That's what a lot of people are wondering. And to be honest, not much. He just dropped a ton of music and ignored all the rules, which is what got him to where he's at, to be honest. What this did do was kill his hype a little bit, but if you look at his stats, they're pretty crazy. Even today, he consistently still can get hundreds of thousands of plays, and 1 million plays on a song isn't very hard for him to hit. Personally, as a fan of his, I prefer this version of Duwap that just drops so frequently. And this is a bold prediction, but I think in 2024, Duwap Kaine will be an OnlyFans millionaire. Alright, just kidding. By the way, if you don't get the joke, he did start an OnlyFans. And Duwap, if you're watching this video, just chill with OnlyFans. Like, the gay jokes in the underground that fans make are just that, jokes. We really don't want to see that. But for real, my prediction is that his Spotify monthly listeners in 2024 will be in the millions, at least a couple million through TikTok. I just think his sound and the frequency at which he drops makes a TikTok hit inevitable. He's already had some songs mildly go up there. So no, I don't think Duwap Kaine fell off at all. He's only 21 and has a long way to go. Something I saw in one of his interviews that was a very good point that the interviewer made was that hey, when you were young, you were blowing up partially because of your music, but also because of how young you were, and that was kind of your it factor, which, let's be honest, it was. Today, Duwap can't really lean on that or rely on that. His music just has to be that good. So it's gonna be a little harder for him to get the same amount of popularity that he had in like 2017 or 2018, but he can easily do it. But overall, the reason why I feel like Duwap Kaine is such a special artist is because watching him grow up, the fact that he's remained experimental, something a lot of underground rappers do, but not to the extent Duwap does, by constantly trying out new styles and evolving, which is why Duwap's discography is so deep and not shallow, will serve him in the long run, and being successful is kind of inevitable, in my opinion, for Duwap. So let me know what you think, if some of those comparisons were too far-fetched, what your experience with Duwap was like when you found out his music, and see ya. Have a nice day.